Tommy Travels got to the boo before we did.
Yes, he did.
He said boo over there in the chat before we could even say boo.
Got us on the boo.
So I'm going to start with my little spiel before we even get started here, but I just want to start out by saying we cover murder, mystery, haunted history. So we cover a lot of true crime over here on this channel. So if you're new, I just want to mention that sometimes we giggle, laugh, and tell jokes throughout some very difficult stories. But that's just how we kind of deal with the trauma of situations. Please don't take offense, but that's just how we deal with it. And a lot of the time our live chat likes to joke, and that's how we keep it going over here on this channel. We mean no offense. That's just how we do it. We do cover some graphic stuff sometimes, so trigger warning for that. With that being said, we hope you enjoy the stuff that we get into. Currently, we are on part 3 of our Sheila series. She is very interesting. So if you haven't seen part 1 or 2, please go back and check those out. And then right now, I think we need to get into welcoming the chat. What do you think, Nettie? Oh, yeah. And this is, Nettie from MelNetteLivingFreeZipCodeless. Her channel is always linked in the description below.
Thank you.
All right. So we have Rebecca McRae. I believe that is Becky from Roy and Becky.
Excited.
Yeah, that's Becky from Roy and Becky's Travels, right? And then there's MelNettie. Living FreeZipCodeless. Me. Bridge Burner, hello and welcome. Thrifty Angela. If you're not following Thrifty Angela, it is Halloween season, and then we got Christmas season, and she does some amazing crafts for all of the seasons, and you need to go check her out. I've shared some of her videos on my community tab. You need to go check them out. She's got some really cool Halloween ones up right now. All right. And then the Tommy Travels is in our chat right now. He loves architecture. I hear he loves architecture a lot.
He loves us to talk about it whenever we can. He loves to hear about it.
Yeah. And there's some really cool architecture on the farm that Sheila owns.
Yeah.
Said, I'm working on Halloween stuff right now.
Yeah. How do we know that, Thrifty? How do we know?
How do we know? All right. So today's episode is going to be probably about 2 hours long to finish up this. This lady was, I'm just going to say, she was nuts. She was nuts. These have been some my lighting keeps getting dark. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
She was nuts. And this series, each one of part 1, part 2, and part 3 have all been pretty long because she's a female serial killer.
She keeps getting crazier during every episode.
Yeah, she's been up to a lot. So let's jump in and see how she wraps this thing up here. Thrifty Angela said, yeah, just a wee bit crazy.
Tiny little bit.
Tiny little bit. All right. I'll let you go first.
Okay. As journalists and investigators tore through Sheila's past, trying to learn more about her life, she was stuck in her cell waiting to be formally indicted by a grand jury for Kenneth's murder.
Yeah, and you might be a little lost if you haven't seen part 1 and part 2. So you may want to go back if this is your first time watching the rerun or anything and check out those. But yeah, she's a little different. After a few months of limbo, her lawyer requested that she be released on bail. But in New Hampshire murder cases, where there is a strong presumption of guilt, there is no chance of release. So she remained incarcerated, awaiting trial. And I'm still going to say, every single picture of her looks so different.
Isn't that crazy? Her animals on the farm, including 3 older horses, 2 Shetland ponies, a dog, and number of rabbits, were all put up for adoption by the authorities.
Sheila's divorce records unsealed. Portsmouth Herald wanted to learn more about her past relationships. Sheila had been legally married 3 times, 4, if you count her quasi common law marriage to Wilford LaBarre. Oh, yeah, Wilford, she didn't actually
Yeah.
marry him,
She just took
but
his
lived.
name.
Yeah, yeah, that was a whole weird thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila's first husband, single father John Baxter, whom she married on New Year's Eve, 1981. That was the one that she actually loved, wasn't it? We think.
That's the one where she was abusing his daughter while he was at work.
Yeah, but
So
she
I
didn't
don't
kill him, right?
know. No.
Yeah.
There's a few that got away. Now, her last divorce was filed in New Hampshire, and because of Sheila's request, the records had been sealed. She told the judge back in July of 1997, by sealing these records, I believe I can truly understand what our state motto means: live free or die.
To me, the marriage was my death, and my divorce is my freedom. The Herald petitioned the court to unseal the records and learn the truth about her brief marriage to Wayne Innes.
Sheila argued that they should remain sealed because it was merely an attempt by the Herald to sell newspapers, and that the content would have no bearing on the pending murder charges.
The court granted the newspaper request over Sheila's objection, and the public learned about her decades long history of domestic violence.
Sheila is I can't say that.
Tremen-
Yeah.
tumultuous.
Relationship with Wayne Enos. Now, Wayne grew up in Massachusetts Parish, Jamaica. After living there for 29 years, he came to America seeking a better life. That's Manchester Parish.
After living in New England and driving a taxi for a while, he found himself in New Hampshire, harvesting crops as a migrant worker, picking apples and blueberries.
In
I have to.
1990, I'm sorry.
Is there? Oh, sorry. Is there a noise coming from my end? Um, anyone in the comments, like when I'm speaking, or is
I
it
don't
just
hear one here.
maybe it's just feedback on my end I'm hearing. All right. There you go.
Okay, it's the next one. This one you just read. Okay. In 1994, Wayne was injured in a car accident and thought he was still mobile. The kinks and the soreness made him feel miserable. He wanted to be treated by a chiropractor and he ended up at LaBarre's clinic.
Thank you, Thrifty Angela. Sheila was working that day, and while Wayne filled out paperwork, she introduced herself. He found her attractive, and their casual conversation became flirtatious.
Sheila recognized his accent right away. She had vacation in his country in 1989 with Wilford money and without the doctor. And she wrote in her journals that she dreamed of a quote, dark skinned lover from Jamaica.
Hello, Shanna Craft. Welcome. This has got to be a glamour shot. There's got to be something going on with this
Yeah.
photo. It was the beginning of his first relationship in the States, and things moved quickly. They soon married less than a year later on August 22nd, 1995.
His first relationship when he came to the States. That's terrible.
Sorry. I'm doing terrible with the button today. There we go. Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one you read.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. Though Sheila continued to show affection and tenderness to Wilford, maintaining a quasi romantic relationship, he was tolerant of her new husband and even allowed Wayne to live and work on the farm with her. He didn't spend his money.
This is something I'm just not understanding.
Yeah.
Come live with the lady that I'm in a relationship with. Oh, wait, we're not in a relationship anymore. And by the way, like live on my property and I'll pay you to work here. Makes so much sense. BBC Huntress. That's hot. Tommy Travels. I would think people could pick up on a Jamaican accent without having to visit there.
Yeah. Came on.
This poor man. He was put through the ringer.
Yeah.
They were like a family, spending holidays together and catching up over dinner after long days at work. Wayne saw Wilford as a fatherly figure. He showed nothing but kindness to him and paid Wayne to complete odd jobs around the property. Probably paid him to keep the lady busy, too.
Yeah. But after a brief honeymoon period, he began to learn about Sheila's darker side. He would later write letters to New Hampshire Union Leader, a local newspaper, revealing what had happened between Sheila and him.
He wrote about an incident where she chased him through the house and around the property with a handgun. He said she had a handgun with her all the time. She pointed the gun at me, shot over my head, and then told me she was going to send me back to Jamaica in a box. Jeez. There's that beautiful architecture, that beautiful farm-like. I'm trying to think of like exquisite words to describe it just to mess with Tommy.
Do you see it, Tommy? Do you see it?
Can you see the beautiful exquisiteness of this building? She was getting their ass. Oh, Shaco. Maybe I shouldn't have put that one up there. I gotta read before I put your stuff up.
On some winter nights, she forced him to sleep outside, his bare skin lying on the icy ground, and the air was so cold he could see his breath when he exhaled. He shivered himself to sleep, and one night, during a heavy snow, Sheila got into a rage and threw both Wilford and Wayne into the cold winter air and locked them out of the house.
Tommy said that would cost a fortune in shipping to ship him back home. This is true.
A heavy box.
There's a closer picture. It was a beautiful home until she got a hold of it.
Oh, yeah.
Wilford headed to a small camper that he kept on the far side of the horse barn, and he offered to share it with Wayne. Oh my gosh. Both the men are going to move out into a camper?
She kicked him out.
She's bad. You know she's bad when the man who owns the house and the Jamaican are going to go live in a camper out in the yard by the horse barn.
Wait till you see the camper.
Think about this. Wayne was embarrassed about the situation. Wayne's also a doctor. This man's got money, right? Oh my gosh. Okay. Wayne was embarrassed about the situation. His wife had caused this predicament, and he knew how small the camper was, so he volunteered to sleep in the barn, finding some clean hay to lay in. Oh my God, I am mind boggled by this situation. What? What is happening here?
Look at this camper.
It's a truck camper. It's not even a full camper. It's a truck camper in the barn. What is happening? Can't they like call the police and like?
I know. Why didn't they do that?
Oh, Tommy. Or that camper was some amazing architecture.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. Worth a lot of money. Thrifty Angela said, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
The lure this lady had. Like, I would like just a pinch of her like magical powers. Just a pinch. I don't need all of them, but can I have a pinch so that if I want to be first in line at the grocery store, I can wave my magic powers and the guys will move and I can be first in line? Like,
just carry a pistol. That's what she seemed to carry with her.
The heck? I Thrifty Angela, she's still along those same lines of thinking, what kind of power did this woman have over men?
Yeah.
I would have gone to the police. Someone lend BB3 some psychopathy just for a day. Okay. This is insanity to me. Okay.
I didn't know a place on earth so cold, he thought. But despite his worry, he survived without serious injury until morning. I was ashamed to let anyone know I was living like this in America, he later wrote. But despite the abuse, no matter how vicious she got during a fight, he said he refused to strike her.
You ain't got to strike her. Just call the police and say, get her
Yeah.
out of my. Take her to court. No, take her to court. She'd probably kill you. He was trying to avoid dying. I get it. If he took her to court, she was going to kill him.
That's
Now the
the
house ain't
bar.
looking so pretty. Wayne remembered one time when she was driving him in her pickup. She told him that she wished a horse would kick Wilford in the head and kill him. She knew what the will had in store for her. She wanted him dead so she could inherit the farm. Nothing like being blunt,
Yeah.
blunt and up front.
You should kill him, she suggested to Wayne. He stammered out a what? And in response, Sheila jerked the wheel, sending cassettes flying across the truck cabin, smashing into the doors. Wayne later said, when she is like that, I don't trust her. I didn't want to refuse her and have her turn on me.
That seems smart, considering what path she went down.
Yeah.
She asked again, and he continued to hesitate, and she would whip the truck back and forth on the back roads, slamming his head into the passenger window. He thought to himself, no, I can't do that. I'm not a murderer, and Dr. LaBarre is like a father to me. I'm just imagining
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
she's like, what? Wayne? What the fuck? Like when we tell these stories, when I'm curious, everyone in the comments, when we're reading this, for me, when we're reading it, I'm picturing in my head her driving down the road and yanking the wheel and banging his head. Like I'm literally picturing it in my
Mhm.
head. Do you guys picture it in your head, her doing this to him? Like I'm picturing it and I'm thinking, what the hell? This man looks so sweet and kind and loving and gentle. It makes me sad. Hey, Linda Barker.
Linda? She already took his name. She just couldn't wait to get his money.
Yeah.
He wouldn't give her. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's just Shanna said she was picturing it. Thrifty Angela's picture.
Yeah. He wouldn't give her the answer she wanted, looking for, so she slammed on the brakes and ordered him to get out. She sped away and left Wayne to find his own way home. He realized that if she was capable of hiring someone to kill Wilfred, what was to stop her from doing the same to him?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. I'm picturing it in your head too, Tommy Travis. Thrifty Angela says, I'm picturing it. That's why I'm shaking my head over here like, what the fuck? Just imagining some guy's head bouncing off the window as he's going, I need to figure a way out of this
The
situation.
cassettes flying everywhere.
This is nuts. Another incident happened in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. They had gotten into an argument, so Wayne left the room, giving her space, hoping that she would calm down. But when he returned, she provoked him, goading him to hit her. Of course.
When he refused, she stepped back, collecting herself, and a wicked smile crept across her face. She ripped the fabric of her clothes and struck herself, Wayne later wrote.
Setting him up. There's that face. That face is scary.
Wicked.
That is the face of pure psychopathy. She pulled the shirt collar around her neck, taut, using it like a noose, strangling herself until she couldn't continue. She then dug her nails into her skin, drawing blood. He was dumbstruck. What was this about?
Then she calmly walked over to the phone and dialed a number and said, "Is this the Hampton police? I need an officer to come. My husband just assaulted me."
Absolute insanity. What was that movie where the Saturday night guy was doing that with his head in the car and smashes the window? You look like the guys from the night at the Roxy when you do that. Now that's all I'm picturing. Linda Parker said, "Wicked smile." Lucky Dog Productions moderator Sue is in
Hey,
here.
Sue.
Hello, hello. I'm so glad you got your internet back and y'all are safe. Good to hear. Hey, little bit crazy. Hello. Their eventual divorce wasn't precipitated by the abuse, though. The final straw was Sheila's infidelity. Wayne walked in on Sheila having sex with another man, Jimmy Brackett, and he had had enough. Wait a minute. Wait. She was living there with another man that she brought onto the property, and then he was living in the trailer with the other man she brought on the property, but it took another man coming in for her to... I'm confused. Okay. All right. Moving on.
In December of 1996, they filed for divorce. And 7 months later, in July of 1997, the divorce was finalized and Wayne was free.
Lucky Doug said, luckily they had only lost internet, so that's good. Good to hear. And then sad that so many others lost so much more. Yeah, that was a heck of a storm that came through Florida there. And then she said, wow, still the same story. Cool, I didn't miss the end of it. Yeah, this is part 3. This lady's got quite a story. Wait, what was the last straw? The last straw was yet again another man, another infidelity. Not the killing of men, not the abuse. Jimmy Brackett, lucky to be alive.
I'm sorry.
Oh. No, go ahead.
Just as the relationship with Wayne was ending, a new one was beginning. James Brackett, who went by Jimmy, was like Wayne, a patient at the chiropractic clinic. He was in his mid-20s as Sheila was closing in on 40. Jimmy had a learning disability and very shy, and Sheila liked that about him.
Heck yeah, that's how she took advantage of them.
Oh, yeah.
But again, lucky to be alive because those are the ones she usually... They began seeing each other in 1996 when Sheila was still married to Wayne. And when Wayne moved out, Jimmy moved in, living with Sheila in the Hampton apartment, which was perched right on top of the chiropractor clinic that Wilford owned. I'm trying to follow the timeline. I really am. So let's just, for my mindset and everybody else's here for a minute. So Wilford, she didn't actually marry Wilford, but she took his last name, and Wilford was the chiropractor doctor guy, okay? She took his last name, and he's the one that owned the farm, the actual farm.
Yeah.
And at one point, Wayne, who was the Jamaican, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Wayne was the Jamaican. He was out on the farm, and so was Wilford.
Yeah.
And they both were so fed up with Sheila that they went and stayed out in the truck camper out in the horse barn because they were so fed up with Sheila.
No, she
And one
actually
of them,
kicked them out.
yeah,
Kicked them both out.
she kicked them out, and they were staying out in the horse barn and the truck camper. And then one of them ended up sleeping in the hay in the horse barn because of the conditions of the trailer and it being so small. And then Sheila ended up moving to the apartment with Wayne over his over Wilford's chiropractor clinic.
Yeah.
Okay. So then she gets rid of Wayne. I don't know how she got rid of Wayne. We're just saying she got rid of Wayne. And now she has moved. Wilford's still around, by the way, at this point, I think. And then now she's moved Jimmy in to the apartment above the chiropractor clinic. I think we're on the correct timeline here as far as men go, but I hope that clears it up for everyone if anyone was lost.
Yeah.
On a simple breakdown.
And then I just text you a little bit of a time frame. I don't know if we'll have time to discuss it, but it shows in detail all the years and where all these men were. I kind of helped.
Yeah, I remember you had sent me this timeline breakdown too, and I had looked at it. Yeah, for anyone wondering, let me show the camera here real quick. In order to keep up on this woman's life, let me show the camera.
Yeah.
This is just the first picture. And then let me go to the second one. This is the second breakdown.
Yeah, it's a graph, Sue. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So, but the breakdown I just gave kind of gives the update of where we're at right now.
Right.
With her little muddy, clear as mud situation, Linda Barker said. Hello, Icon. How are you? All right. And then let me see if I missed anything else. Okay. We need a pie chart to keep track.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So now we have Jimmy living in the apartment with Sheila above Wilford's chiropractor office. That's where we're at so far. And I think Wilford is at the farm living in his house.
Mm-hmm.
Your turn?
Yeah. And like Wayne, the three of them had a family dynamic. Wilford showed him extraordinary kindness, and like Wayne, it didn't take long for their relationship to take a dark turn with the escalating arguments and the physical fights.
In one incident, after having a bath together, Sheila got out, grabbed a 2-foot-long wooden grill brush that was lying on the nearby sink, and hit him across the face with it, knocking out 2 of his front teeth and leaving his mouth bruised and bloody.
Now, why would you have a barbecue brush in the bathroom?
Well, I think she said across the sink, so maybe they were in the kitchen at that point.
Okay.
Shoot, I went back too far. Like maybe they had gotten to the kitchen at that point. But even still, can you, like, imagine the force that it took
Yeah.
to knock out those teeth. She wasn't even just like boom. She was like boom to knock out 2 teeth. That takes a lot of force. So, yeah, that's
Man.
crazy.
As he sat holding his mouth, dumbfounded and in pain, she told him, "I was aiming at your throat." She accused him of sleeping around, hurting her animals, and damaging property, but none of it was ever true. She was so passionate about her lies, though, that she started to believe them.
Starting to think that she's the problem in these relationships. Maybe.
Maybe.
Force and impeccable aim. Very true. Like with Wayne, she would wield a 38 caliber handgun for intimidation, occasionally sending bullets his way. In one particularly dramatic incident, Jimmy fled to the camper on the Epping property and locked her out. Like a camper's going to stop a bullet, though.
Yeah.
I could see her wielding this gun. Like, this looks like something she would be walking
Mhm.
around with in her hand.
She retrieved an axe and started to hack her way through the thin sheet metal shell, and Jimmy was trapped. He searched for an exit when he looked up and saw the camper's roof vent. He shimmied up through the narrow opening, stood on top of the camper, picked a side furthest from Sheila, leaped from the roof, and fled on foot.
Um, I need just 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
My son and his group of kids that came to stay the weekend are leaving, so I need to go say goodbye to them real quick. You can control from where you're at right now, right?
Let me see if I can. Yeah, to continue with the story?
Yeah, go ahead and continue with the story, and I'll be right back.
Okay. I'll make sure I can move it. Okay. Now, again, that is a little camper that's on the left that he fled to. I don't know how he made it out of that little roof vent, but he was able to get away. And Sheila pursued him, but he was faster. And fear pumping through his veins, he escaped into the thick woods on the property. Another time, Sheila landed herself in legal hot water. Jimmy went to the hospital seeking treatment for a wound, but before the doctor would stitch him up, he asked him how had he supplied these injuries. Right? That's before she got to 44. After he told him that the girlfriend had attacked him with a pair of scissors, explaining the 2-inch gash in his forehead and the damage to his ear, the doctor called the Hampton police. An officer quickly arrived, took some photos, and took a statement from Jimmy, and after which the doctor treated his wounds, stitched him up, and gave him a tetanus shot. Isn't that crazy? A few hours prior, in the middle of the night around 4:30 a.m., Sheila and Jimmy were rolling around their apartment above the chiropractor office, fighting with weapons. Jimmy had a bowie knife, and Sheila some pruning shears. She was injured too, a cut on her palm and her finger. Exactly. Finally, somebody called the police. Now, that's the apartment above the chiropractor office that she tend to have a lot of her men stay at. The officer asked Jimmy to come by the station when he was done at the hospital before he left. He asked Jimmy if he still had the knife with him and he turned it over. The officer headed over to the apartment to get a statement from Sheila. She claimed that Jimmy had attacked her with a folding knife and that she had defended herself with scissors. He put her under arrest and brought her back to the station. Once she got to the station, she explained that in addition to her wounds, she had explained her private parts were also wounded. When she started to disrobe to show the officer, he asked, "That's not necessary." He left the room, getting a female officer to assist. But when Sheila found out that he wouldn't be the one behind the camera, she changed her mind, saying she no longer wanted to be photographed. It's like it was all about the men. She didn't want any females to talk to her, look at her. She didn't want anything to do with it. It's the Epping Police Department. You're back.
I'm back. All right. Is it my turn?
Your turn.
They charged her with second-degree assault, booked her, and held her until later that afternoon when she would be arraigned. Jimmy, similarly, was arrested and charged and held at the police station.
And what happened, BB, while you were gone, is Jimmy and her got into a tussle.
Ooh.
And she had scissors, and they both had wounds. He ended up in the hospital. They called the police, got their statements. She claimed that she was also injured in her private parts and was going to disrobe in front of the police officer. And he said, "Wait a minute." And he went to get a female officer, and she said she was fine. Yeah. That afternoon at the courthouse, Sheila and Jimmy faced Judge Francis Frazier, where he read them each their charges, and they both pled not guilty.
Sheila was already widely known by court staff as polite, prepared, and professional. One of the best proselyons they had ever encountered. But this time, Sheila was unhinged. She yelled and talked over the judge. She talked over Judge Francis during Jimmy's arraignment, and he ordered her to be removed from the courtroom. Tommy Treble said if she had wounded herself down there to get out of trouble, then I'd be out in this story. I wonder if the reason she asked for or she was going to disrobe in front of the male officer is if she then thought, oh, this is bigger money if I can say the male officer did something to me.
Yeah.
Was then going to turn it on to the male officer as being something he did. Like at first, it was just something between her and Jimmy. But then if she could then claim the male officer did something to her, she could then get money from the county or city or whatever. So
Yeah, especially the way
psychopath.
her mind was, She
Mm-hmm.
probably did think like that.
Yeah. Again, I'm trying to think like a psychopath. I'm not a psychopath, so it's very challenging to think that way. But you hear of stuff with people, claiming the police did things, so maybe.
Yeah. The officer who had brought her to the courthouse took her downstairs to a small room, and as she was being removed, she bellowed, "I'm bleeding from the vagina, and they won't help me."
I always pronounce that word Vargina.
Vagina.
No, not Vargina. Virgina. Virgina is how I say it. Ever since my kids were little, I call it the Virgina. That's your Virgina. My kids are like, something's wrong with you. I'm like, it's funner to say it that way. All right. They called an ambulance to treat her, but she refused them. She said she was just having her period. She accepted a maxi pad from a court employee and settled down. Oh my gosh. The woman's nuts. I wouldn't put it faster.
From the JJ.
Thrifty Angela said her vagina must have been special. Yeah, all these men she was grabbing up, it must have been a real special one.
The judge was bewildered. He held her at a mental institution for observation for 3 days before he would consider bail. She returned to face the judge with her attorney.
Can you imagine, like, they had to call an ambulance to give her a maxi pad? Like, what? He presented a psychological exam that Sheila was a danger neither to herself nor others. I think that's supposed to say not, right? He presented a psychological exam that Sheila was a danger neither to herself nor others, and that she was competent to assist in her own legal defense. She had returned to her charming self, and the judge granted her bail, but ordered her to stay 500 feet from Jimmy. 500 feet? She could still shoot him in 500 feet. What?
She chased him with an axe, so she can still throw that axe.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I had to walk away before I could say anything about the axe. Can we jump back to that for 1 second? That's like off of a scary movie. Like, what was that movie where the lady had the guy tied to the bed and was like,
oh yeah,
at his ankles? It reminds me of that. Someone in the comments is going to know what I'm talking about, where the lady took the axe to the guy's ankles and broke his ankles because his ankles were tied to the bed. That's who she reminds me of. That's who this whole story is reminding me of. Misery.
Yeah.
Misery. That's what it is. She reminds me of the lady off of Misery.
Tommy, call 911 when you're out of pads.
Yeah, I guess if you're out of pads, call 911. I guess. Yeah, this lady reminds me of the lady off of Misery. I'm sorry, but she's the real life lady off of Misery.
Prosecutors tried to proceed with their case, but neither Jimmy nor Sheila would cooperate. So they abandoned the charges. A few years later, Jimmy's still there. Sheila petitioned to have the charges expunged from their respective criminal records, and the same judge, Francis Frazier, approved the request.
Why is Jimmy still there?
I don't know why these guys never leave.
Yes, James Caan and Kathy Bates. Everybody, okay, Let me get this out there. I don't have a relationship with my biological mother. Okay, I just throw that out there. We're not going to get into why. But I will tell you that everyone that has seen or met my mother says she looks and acts exactly like Kathy Bates out of the movie Misery. So that should explain a lot. But yeah, looks exactly like her and acts like her. That's my mother. And I'm telling you that this lady reminds me of the actress. So, you know, uh, Rebecca. Hey,
Hey.
hello, hello. You were in here earlier, so you're not late at all. You were the
Yeah.
first person to comment.
Plus, we still have like another hour to go.
Story's got a lot to go still.
Yeah.
You've just missed some chasing people around with axes, sleeping in truck cabins, or truck camper, just a few little details. See our view made it here safe.
Oh, great. Thank you, Becky.
The cycle of abuse and reconciliation extended even to the legal system. James left Sheila many times, but he always came back. In 2002, James finally steeled his resolve to leave Sheila.
He later said, I was so desperate to leave that I hitchhiked through a blizzard to a homeless shelter in Portsmouth. He feared that if he had stayed, he would have been killed.
Yeah, when you got to leave, you got to leave. That's in any abusive situation. Like if
Yeah.
you know now's the time, just go. It doesn't matter. Just go. If you finally got up the courage to go, go. He recalled that she had accused him of being a P word, and in retrospect, believed that if he had confessed, placating her, it would have been his death sentence. She's accused everyone of being the P word. Like at what how many P words can you be with in your lifetime? Seriously.
The vanity plate on the back of Jimmy's Brackett's car reads, I'm alive. Many years later, he said that he was lucky to be alive and knew full well he couldn't have been he could have been another victim. From 1996 to 2002, Jimmy survived Sheila there. That's long.
She said, so my normal scary movie. Yeah, that's a long time that he survived. I don't think any of the other ones survived that long with her. The insanity plea. Sheila, wearing a tan jumpsuit, waited in her cell for nearly 2 years, anticipating her trial. She was ready to escape the mundane prison routine and the women who abused her. Oh, poor her. Sheila hated her cellmate. She complained to her sister that she would scoff and tease her for using the toilet. Oh, I feel so bad. Oh, you looking rough, Sheila. You looking real rough.
In one of the court hearings, she complained to the judge that she was suffering from skin problems because she had no control over the temperature of the water during her showers, and that she needed a prescription moisturizer to heal her skin. She's got them all, baby.
I'm sorry. What? Honey, you're in jail. You're gonna need to go get some Vaseline. They sell that at the little store.
Yeah.
Go get you some Vaseline and rub that on your skin.
I
Oh,
need
does it
some
break you out?
moisturizer.
Does Vaseline break you out because it's too oily? Sorry about that. Becky said, boo hoo. To D'Angelo, oh, poor thing.
Karma.
Life had changed dramatically since her days on the farm with her animals. In October of 2007, Sheila's lawyers successfully motioned to have her declared indigent by the court, which meant that the state would be picking up the cost of Sheila's legal defense. Why? What happened to all that money she had been running around with? Jeffrey Dinner, one of Boston's most venerable defense attorneys, makes the case for Sheila LaBarre. I don't know how these defense attorneys do what they do.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Her assets were frozen while the order vacating her inheritance and the wrongful death lawsuit from the county family were resolved.
Got it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
If I'd have just waited, I'd have had an answer. That's why I don't commit crimes. I can't be without my prescription moisturizer. You know what? I always have people ask me like what do I use on my skin? This one lady always every year she's like, what moisturizer are you using this year on your skin? I couldn't go to prison because I use snail slime on my skin. I use moisturizer, but I also use snail slime, and they ain't gonna give me my snail slime in jail. I mean, if I'm up there and I need to tell the jail I need my snail slime, they're gonna look at me like I'm insane, So I just can't. I can't be.
They may give you a bucket of snails.
Go ahead and catch your own slime. Like he says, no money, no lawyer.
Yeah.
No, I've watched a lot of the prison YouTube stuff because I just find it interesting. Like, if I'm gonna watch true crime, I want to know what it's like when they go to jail and stuff like that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that have come out and like their lives are totally different now, but they'll tell stories about when they were in jail, and they talk about how they made makeup or the meals they made and just the different stuff like that. And I find it interesting. Like, I find that stuff really interesting, the different things that they did, but I don't know, it's fun to watch.
The trial was scheduled to begin in March of 2008, but in February, Sheila's legal team made a bombshell announcement. She essentially admitted that she had murdered Kenneth County and Michael DeLuge, but claimed that she was not guilty by reason of insanity.
Honey, you've been insane your whole life. You should know how to work with that insanity by now. It's semi-normal. This breaks my heart. So anyone that, I think most of you have been here from the beginning, but anyone that has not, the man with the American flag behind him served our country, but was also, I want to say, had Asperger's or autism, one of the two, but really worked hard to live a normal life. And then the other man, kind of the same thing, a little bit on the slower end of things. And she managed to get a hold of both of these men and take advantage of them. And it was disgusting, just disgusting. So. Up until this point, the state hadn't even charged her with Michael's murder. Rather than admitting her guilt outright, she could have asked for a bifurcated trial, so-called, because it would be done in two separate phases.
In the first, they would presume that she was sane and consider her guilty in the murder of Kenneth County. And in the second trial, they would consider only the question of her sanity.
I don't think she was insane to the point of not knowing what she was doing, though. I think she 100% she was doing. There was some speculation by legal pundits that her team avoided this because if the same jury were utilized in both trials, they might find it difficult to find someone guilty and then immediately afterward find them not guilty by reason of insanity. I don't think she was insane enough to not know what she was doing. I think she just has issues.
After the February hearing, her attorney, Jeffrey Denner, said Sheila LaBarre is a deeply sick individual. It is our belief that she could not control her behavior and look at the world through a different lens. We have felt from the beginning that this was a very sick individual who needs help.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing. She knew. Yeah, I agree. I think there's a difference between like insanity where you're doing things and you're having a mental break and you're like blacked out and don't know what you're doing, and then I 100% know that I'm starving this person, I'm beating this person, I'm angry, and I'm killing this person. And she knew what she was doing. But normal people don't do that stuff, right? So she's not normal, but she knew what she was doing. She knew right from wrong. And I think that's what needs to be defined when you are choosing in a court whether the person should be held accountable. Do they know right from wrong? You know. What do you think, Nettie?
Yeah, I think so too. They should be held accountable for that.
Oh, I need moisturizer. Please, can you get me some moisturizer? My skin,
Look at
so
my
dry.
skin.
Feel my hand. Some needed to be punished. She knew right from wrong. She didn't care.
Yeah.
When you make them so weak they can't fight back to killing them, she knew. Agreed. The families of Kenneth and Michael were aghast that she might be able to escape responsibility. But even if Sheila were successful, she would likely be committed to a secure psychiatric unit and would not be set free for decades, perhaps the rest of her life. See, but that's where she doesn't need to be put because that's the people she preyed on. She preyed on people that were mentally ill. So why are you going to lock her up with other mentally ill people? That seems ridiculous to me. Mentally ill people were her targets. This breaks my heart. The happiness in all of their faces.
Yeah. Though it is not hard to imagine a scenario where she would become a model patient and win over the doctors and earn her eventual release. That's the mother of Michael.
Mother of Michael. The insanity plea is rare. It is used in less than 1% of criminal cases, and its success rate is about 1 in 4. That's pretty high, though. 1 in 4 is a pretty high percentage rate. In an insanity trial, it is the burden of the defense to prove that the defendant was insane. They are presumed to be sane until proven otherwise. Okay, so less than 1% of criminal cases, that's low. The 1% of it being used is low. But once it's used, 1 in 4 of it being successful is a pretty high rate. Don't you think?
Hmm.
I mean, at 1% seems pretty low as far as them allowing it to be
Right.
even, used as an option. But then once it's allowed to be used as an option, that's a pretty high rate of it being successfully used, I think. Her actions are crazy, but she is a predator and not insane.
True.
That's a very good way of putting that. She's a con artist with a twist. That's a good way of saying it, too.
Yep. In preparation for trial, the defense requested, as part of discovery, the 330 microcassettes that were taken as evidence by investigators from Sheila's residence. She had been recording herself and others starting in 1990 for the following 15 years, and the cassettes contained over 1,000 hours of audio. And you heard a little bit of the audio that she did with Kenneth.
Yeah. The prosecution, meanwhile, had their expert witness, forensic psychologist Albert Drucktinus, interview Sheila again and examine all of the evidence that they had gathered in preparation for the trial.
Okay. So
Tommy said, that means 25% of all murder cases are successful insanity pleas. Okay.
So in early May of 2008, the trial that would decide Sheila's fate began. After a jury of 12 with 6 alternates were impaneled, they took a field trip to the Epping farm to take a look around, and Sheila joined the jury for the trip. Wow, look how different she is there.
I'm so happy to be back on my farm. Could I grab some moisturizer while I'm here? This was once mine. She looks proud.
She does, right? She looks very cocky.
She looks different. She looks even more like the lady off the Misery movie.
Yeah.
But she looks very proud here. Oh, he said 0.25%, not 25%. Okay, I missed the point. I should be wearing my glasses. I apologize. 1/4 of 1%.
So then that's a small percent.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I guess my confusion was in the 1 out of 4 once it went through. My brain's thinking too much. It's going to stop now. It's going to shut off. When it tries to think, it thinks it's smart. And we all know that that's just not true. So
you are too smart. Stop it.
All right. My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. The defense would go first in the trial. And during their opening statements, they laid out their story for the jury. Attorney Brad Bailey said, quote, "This is a woman who sincerely believes she has been told by God himself to return to Earth to find the reason why." Oh gosh, now we're going with this.
Yep. A woman who believes she is an angel, a spirit walking among the living, who has returned to Earth for a special purpose. He was referring to the suicide attempt that Sheila had made during her relationship with Ronnie Jennings, after which she remained in a coma for 8 days.
He explained that Sheila had discovered in the years that followed her purpose. She was to rid the world of peas. She believed that being a notary public gave her special powers and allowed her to judge and enact punishment, including executions. Okay, I'm confused.
But
I
she's not
am
insane. She's not insane.
so confused. A notary public means you sign paperwork. That's it. You sign paperwork. You sign a dotted line that says that you saw someone's license and that you were there to witness them signing papers. That's it. That's all a notary public does. Am I
I'm
wrong?
signing to execute you.
Does a notary public do anything other than that? Why on earth would she think that it would give her other powers than that?
Yeah.
Never mind. We're talking about a lady who's trying to come up with an excuse for her killing people that she deemed as the P words, but they were never the P words because that's what she claimed. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
But she made them admit that they were, and that gave her authority because she's a notary to execute them.
Yeah, none of them were though. That's the thing too. Like, I hate peas too. I do as well. Peas. I don't even like corn, if I'm being honest. I think now she's playing the insane card. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
Because the notary public has nothing to do with like anything. Well, that clears it up. Let her go.
Right, Linda?
She's playing the whole court system now. She's working the system or read about it. Yeah. Yeah, this is just I can't even understand how she came up with this concept. I'm trying, but she again looks good. That does not even look okay. Again, looks like a different person.
Yeah. She suffered from paranoia. Believing that the people in the woods near her house were, quote, out to get her, and that she had been assaulted by ghosts who haunted the farmhouse.
They didn't assault her. They didn't assault her. They just made her vagina bleed.
All right.
She needed a maxi pad from it. Sorry. Sorry. Correct. A notary is a witness to a signature. Also, they have a really cool stamp. She got her moisturizer and hair dye at the farm.
Yeah.
While she was on her little field trip. It's unreal. The story is unreal to me. Okay. The prosecution described her as, quote, crude, manipulative, cruel, and vindictive. Someone who lashed out violently at the men she dated. Assistant Attorney General Ann Rice said that her accusations about child abuse were a way to humiliate the men she killed. She said it was all part and parcel of Sheila's need to control, dominate, and humiliate them. Very true. I 100% believe that was the case.
Yeah.
I would understand if there was one guy she had said, oh, he's a P. And by the way, he had this stuff happen when he was a kid. But she has said it about every single guy. That's impossible.
The defense called Sheila's sister to the stand, and she recalled for the jury her nickname for her sister, Crazy Sheila, for her erratic behavior towards men and her cackling laugh.
Even the sister calls her crazy.
Yeah.
Is that the sister?
That's the sister.
Malcolm Rogers, the defense expert witness and forensic psychologist, testified, and he said that he believed Sheila was insane when she killed Kenny and Michael. He explained that her actions were caused by her mental illness, which he had diagnosed as delusional disorder. She ain't delusional. She knows what she's doing.
Her obsession with P was a symptom of a disorder, he said. I think that her experiences as a child didn't cause the disorder, but contribute to the form that the delusion had taken. Another system, he explained, was her paranoia, which was evident for years and began to escalate in the years leading up to the murders.
Now, I may agree that she had some form of paranoia,
Yeah.
which, maybe she thought the guys were cheating on her, and maybe she thought that they were the P words, you know what I mean? Or, she started to convince herself that these guys were these things. I may give her the benefit of the doubt and believe that she thought those things of them. However, a normal person, if they believed those things of those people, would go to the police. Just saying. Because they would want justice for the children that those people did that to.
And apparently it happened to her as a child with her own dad.
Did her sister or anybody verify that it did? Do you know?
I think her sister did in the very beginning, yeah.
So, maybe she was having those delusions. But again, if she was thinking those things happened, you can't just kill those people off and then hide them, because then the children that she believed this stuff happened to never get justice.
Right.
So what good are you actually doing? So I don't think she thought she was doing any good by killing these men off. Thrifty Angela said she's not delusional. Yeah, I don't 100% believe the delusion either. I'm just saying I think that might be a small little part. She might have convinced herself, is what I'm more along the lines thinking. The defense played many of Sheila's recordings for the jury. In one, she interrogated Michael Deluge about emming young girls, accusing him of being a P, and describing the S acts that she believed he performed.
She made similar accusations in a recording of her and Kenneth. Malcolm gave context for the recording, saying that she made those tapes to, quote, document the wrongs that had been done to her, but they were virtually no self-reflection in her role.
In another tape, Sheila said that God told her, "You can't remain here in heaven. You must return, and you must find the reason why." Malcolm said that her grandiose manner of speech in the recordings was evidence of her belief that she was ordained by a higher power to carry out a special mission. Or messed up on drugs.
Yeah.
Does anyone know if she took any drugs? That's another thing. Did they ever look into that?
He continued, many of the ideas seem so outlandish that it makes you wonder if she actually believed them. But my interpretation in listening to the tapes is that she does.
Hey, Bridge Burner, message me on Instagram and let me know what your other channel is. If you feel comfortable, message me on Instagram and let me know what your other channel is. We love supporting you and having your support here. So I know what's going on with your channel and all that stuff. So just message me, Beyondbeauty3 over there on Instagram. So yeah, Yeah, it's linked. My Instagram is linked on YouTube here too. So yeah,
in your about
let us
page.
know. To be fair, though, she would look more like her sister if she had glamour shot photos.
Yeah.
All right.
Look at the police behind her, their expressions.
They're just like, did you bring her moisturizer today? Her belief that all of the men in her life were P and homosexual was part of her delusion. And after playing a recording of her saying, I believe all P should be shot on sight, I wish President Bush would enact that into law. He said that what is most significant is that Sheila acts in a way that is consistent with her delusional beliefs.
In one of the ways you can determine if someone believes their own delusion or not, the defense had former tenants of Sheila testify about the experience vacating a property that they were renting from her. They said that she had entered their apartment in the days leading up to the move and had done some bizarre and terrifying things.
Is that her?
Yeah.
Again, okay, am I the only one looking at these pictures thinking, like, I had literally just had to ask Nettie if that was her. Did anyone else look at that and wonder if that was her? Or is this just me? Because I was trying to figure out if that was the neighbor or her. Is it just me? All right, I'm moving on. She wrote on their wall, Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. She turned on all of the gas burners on the range and left the oven door open with the gas running. She poured bleach in their aquarium, killing their pet fish. She turned on every light and shattered a glass door, leaving thousands of glass pieces on the floor when she left. I mean, just because she's doing really messed up crap doesn't necessarily mean like
she's a bully.
She's a bully. She's mentally got something wrong with her. But again, I'm going to go back to you can have mental health issues. If you don't treat those mental health issues and you go out murdering a bunch of people, does that make it okay? You chose not to treat your mental health issues.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't give you a free range to go do a bunch of bad things. If you have mental health issues, you are responsible for getting help for those. Like, I still don't think that, I don't know. That's, I guess, going to be a big controversial subject, but I still don't think it's okay. Yeah, hair dye and styles can really change looks. Yeah, but gosh, she looks so different. It's not just you. I thought it was Sam.
Did kind of look like him.
Yeah, I thought we were looking at going to be neighbor.
Yeah. They called Jimmy Brackett to the stand to testify about the crazy behavior he witnessed and even the chief of police of Epping to explain that he had fielded at least 150 calls over the years involving her. They produced a notebook of Sheila's that had a Bible verse written on it, Daniel 3, which reads,
Your Majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, or harp must fall down and worship the image of gold. and that whoever does not will be thrown into a blazing furnace. They connected it to her method of disposing of Kenneth and Michael's bodies, incinerating them in burn piles on her property using diesel fuel as an accelerant. I think they're looking too much into that, if I'm being honest. Like, yeah, she may have had that written down, but I think she just did something bad and then was like, this is the quickest way to get rid of my evidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and some of it she flushed down the toilet.
If someone is as bad as her and they're going to blame it on mental health issues, and there was so many police reports on her, right? Like so many police calls and so many
Yeah.
like police dealings with her and stuff like that. And everyone knew that she was mentally unhealthy. Then why wasn't something done and she was put in a mental health institution where she could be closely monitored? If she wasn't going to take medication and she wasn't going to take care of herself mental health wise, then why wasn't she put in a mental health institution where she could be closely monitored so she couldn't hurt other people? I guess that's where I'm struggling with this insanity thing on her getting off for the insanity plea. How do you let someone walk around the streets that has the ability to hurt people and then let them claim insanity and get away with murdering people? If they have such a history of, with the police and all this stuff, it doesn't make sense to me. It
Yeah.
just really doesn't. You can't have it both ways. Remember, she's gone without her moisturizer. Of course she looks different. This is true. Moisturizer can really do a damage to a gal's skin if you go without it. Well, if they're going to use the Bible, it also says, thou shalt not kill. This is true.
That's the burn pile right there. The prosecution focused on passages that showed her as scheming. One page had the words options written at the bottom with a list of possibilities for why someone might disappear. He got it right to his ma, or he went off with someone.
Thank you, Sheila, for reminding everybody to smash that thumbs up. Thank you. Yeah, the property has changed. Like, it was so beautiful when Wilford was there.
Yeah.
Prosecutors James Brofetti shows jurors a metal screen that Sheila LaBarre allegedly used to shift through ashes in search of human bones. She went looking for human bones?
I think what she was trying to do is after she burned them, she was trying to get rid of the human bones if there were big particles left. So she was sifting.
Yeah. And you tell me that somebody that's insane is going to be smart enough to go back and be shifting for human bones. Nah. Finally, the time had come for the state to present their expert witness. Albert told the jury that after reviewing more than 8,000 pages in the case file and interviewing her 3 times for a total of 12 hours, that he believed she was sane when she killed Kenneth and Michael.
He explained that she has severe mood disorders, which explain her episodes of rage, her grandiosity, and her grandiosity, and her suicidal thoughts. He said that she likely had several personality disorders that explain her paranoia and her lack of empathy for others.
And I said that word wrong too. It's grandiosity, not grandiosity. Okay. Grandiosity. I don't know why my brain did that.
Well, look how I was trying to pronounce it.
Tommy Travel said, the problem is that America is terrible when it comes to mental health care and facilities. There are tons of homeless people that could be helped, but there are no beds. Actually, I thought about doing a little bit of a story because I've been kind of watching some videos on some mental health stuff and also like rehab stuff. And there's a lot. But there's one where there's the Florida Shuffle where they'll take people without health insurance and put them into these rehab centers and shuffle them through it because people can earn money. Like people will go search for people on the street, homeless people on the street, and put them in through these rehabs and shuffle them through it just to earn money off of them. It's sick, it's horrible, but it's a
Yeah.
thing that's happening. And then there's other ones where you can't get people in when they need to get in. So I was thinking about doing a kind of a story on that because that was something I was watching and it really touched my heart. But anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mental health system in America is pretty insane, Tommy. I would agree with you. Um, but yeah, I like what this is saying about her very much. I think this sums
Yeah.
it up. Look at the smile on her face. I think the smile like that's stop looking at me like that. That's worse than her evil face.
Yeah.
Stop looking at me, lady. He said that at times she might have psychotic episodes where she would hear voices, see visions, or have delusional thoughts. But he said despite these disorders, quote, she is not psychotic all the time, and not everything that she does is psychotic.
Becky.
Becky, she got her hair done and moisturizer.
Yeah. He said that she was far more functional than psychotic people that he had treated, and that she didn't present any psychotic during their hours of interviews. He said, quote, she answered questions well, and she tried to explain away evidence that made her look bad. And that is not what he sees in a person who is psychotic.
Yeah. The prosecution played Sheila's account of what had happened to Kenneth, an invention of hers, they believed, to minimize her guilt and manipulation and to manipulate the legal system. She said they went to sleep in the same bed, and she woke up in the morning to Kenny choking her, his hands around her throat. Yeah, the guy who was too skinny to even walk.
Yeah. She wriggled away and started yelling at him, telling him that he was only with her to steal money from her to support his drug habit. They argued, they fought, and ended up in a bathroom where Kenny slipped in the tub and struck his head.
She said through sobs, he just stared up at me. He didn't move. I started CPR on him. I was screaming his name. I tried everything. But despite her efforts, Kenny succumbed to his accidental injuries.
And then I burned him. They called her neighbor, Michelle Bennett, to the stand to explain an incident where Sheila was burning something on the property. She told Michelle, don't mind the smell. I'm burning my garbage. The same night, Sheila described in detail how she would kill someone.
She talked to the neighbor that night about how she would kill someone.
Yeah.
Oh. The prosecution recalled the statement Sheila had made. I know my law. Burning a body is just a misdemeanor. When Jimmy Brackett was on the stand, he took the court back to the incident that landed him in the hospital with 4 stitches from Sheila's attack with the pruning shears.
He testified that after Sheila was granted bail, She told him that the bizarre tantrum that she threw during the arraignment hearing was calculated, an effort to, in her words, play the system. Albert said that despite these mental illnesses, there was not enough evidence to show a mental illness caused Sheila to commit her crimes.
In a trial replete with examples of crazy behavior, it was ultimately up to the jury to decide whether she was a manipulative and sadistic killer or legally insane, simply acting in a way that was consistent with her delusion of being an avenging angel. You are no angel, lady.
Mm-mm. After more than 40 witnesses and 5 weeks of testimony, the jury took 2 days and 13 hours before they returned to the courtroom. When they filed back in, the judge asked them if they rendered an unanimous verdict.
The foreman said, "We have, Your Honor." The judge then asked, "How do you find the defendant, guilty or not guilty, by reason of insanity?" The jury foreman paused and said, "Guilty, Your Honor." Come on, come on.
Yeah. Her defense attorney, Jeffrey Denner, later said, "When the verdict was read, she collapsed in my arms saying, 'Thank God, they knew I'm sane.' She wanted to be sane, but she was the craziest person I ever met." The judge sentenced Sheila to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
What? She collapsed in the arms of the judge, or in the arms of her attorney, thankful that she would. This lady is unreal.
I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy. I'm just guilty of killing a bunch of men. And now, can I have my moisturizer?
Right?
If you know that burning a body is a misdemeanor, you're definitely guilty of murder.
Yeah. And then sifting through it and trying to make sure all the bones were burnt to ashes.
D'Angela said, "Wow." Yeah, that part blows my
Yeah.
mind. Like, I don't think I have ever covered a case, ever, where the person went shifting through
Yeah.
the fire to find the bones. Like, ever. I've never heard of that in any of the true crime cases we've ever covered. Hey, Timmy Ray the King. Hi, everyone. I'm just watching and I'm fixing to go back and work on my YouTube video. Well, thanks so much for watching. Her defense attorney, Jeffrey Denner, later said when the verdict was read. Oh, you just read this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Go to the next one here. Was Sheila a serial killer? Yeah, I think she was. Just before the trial began, it was revealed to the public in a preliminary hearing that investigators had discovered in their initial search of the Epping farm several severed toes that belonged to neither Kenny nor Michael. Did y'all hear that? They found toes that were not Kenny's and were not Michael's. They found more toes. There were somebody else's.
And apparently she didn't sift through that.
She didn't sift through that. She just stuck that person's toes right on in there with the rest of the bodies. Mildred, hello. Hello, my beautiful friend. Thank you so much for sharing. Hi, kitty. All right. Do you want to? Oh, Kitty jumped up to say hello, everyone.
Aw. Hi, Cat.
Sorry, it's playing through because Cat's distracting me from things. All right, there we go. Is it your turn?
Okay. This one we read because this is when she collapsed in the arms.
Oh, okay. Let me play here. Moose heard the cat.
And okay. Okay,
There's
the toes. Okay.
There's that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. They didn't bring it up during the insanity trial, and the information lay dormant for 4 years when they appealed to the public for help in identifying the unknown man.
Near the time of Sheila's arrest, she had been seen entertaining a man with a thick Irish accent at her favorite date spot, Ashworth by the Sea in Hampton, the same spot that she and Kenny met the first time. Ashworth by the Sea.
The story, repeated by Michael Bennett, Michelle Bennett, I think, Sheila's Epping neighbor, was that during their date, the Irishman pleaded with another restaurant goer for help, asking them to call the police, that he was afraid she would hurt him. The patron obliged and called the Hampton police, but eventually nothing was done.
That man was like, help. No one but Sheila knew the man's name, and she mentioned it herself during one of the encounters with police at the Epping farmhouse. She said Mr. DeParte, an Irish nut, had been threatening her. Could the toes belong to this mystery Irishman?
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Whoever ends up with this farm ends up with some hauntedness.
Yeah.
Because these men that got
looking for
murdered.
his toes.
Can you imagine? The men that got murdered are not going to like a woman. That's for sure.
Even at the time of this recording, 16 years after the discovery of the toes, the victim has not been identified. There were hundreds of hours of recorded calls of Sheila talking to men on chat lines, like she did with Kenny. How many others did she meet in person?
You go ahead and read that.
Mr. DeParte, ha ha ha, sounds like he has left the building.
That's great. You crack me up. Too funny. Detectives thought this might have been a way that Sheila was searching for new victims. They asked the public for help in identifying other men who stayed with Sheila over the years. Several people came forward with descriptions and limited information, but they didn't know their current whereabouts. DNA. He probably has family that's done something like Ancestry. Yeah, they're using a lot of the Ancestry.com, like when people do those swabs now to figure out their DNA history, family history stuff. But the only way they can use it is anyone that does those family DNA and Ancestry.com stuff. You have to check the little box allowing the police to use it. If you have not checked that, the police can't use it. But they are starting to be able to find a lot of the cold case stuff through that now, which is pretty neat. Could you guys replace the P's in Epping with F's? That's how I'm hearing it anyway. Bing. Bing. That's funny.
Investigators believe that there might even be others of whom they found no trace. Detective Richard Cote said, "If she meets a homeless guy in New York City and took him home and killed him, we would never know. She was using every and all means of disposal."
Mm-hmm. And she was using, men that were less fortunate. She was
Homeless shelters, the chiropractor office, picking up men there.
and she was doing what typical men serial killers do. They, and I don't mean like, I hate to say typical, but you hear a lot about like men serial killers picking up prostitutes or hitchhikers or ladies of the night, just women that typically aren't as easy to track.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of the serial killer's typical MO, is to do that, because then they get away with it longer that way. Unfortunately, they do. And that seems to be what she's done too, is she
Yeah.
was picking handicapped, less fortunate type of men. Even the man from Jamaica, like he's
Yeah.
over here, his family's in Jamaica. It was going to be harder, so I wouldn't put it past her to be a serial killer.
Mm.
Though Sheila had been held responsible for Kenny and Michael's murders, Carolyn believed that her son's death could have been prevented.
She filed a wrongful death lawsuit in March of 2009 against the town of Epping and four individual officers in the Epping Police Department. She had pleaded with the police to help and told reporters that the police saw his condition at Walmart and knew he wasn't okay.
That's what I am upset about, and I agree with 100%. Is,
Yeah.
her son looked horrific when they went out to the house. There was all the signs that something was terribly wrong with him, and they should have stepped in, especially with him being mentally challenged.
Right.
It doesn't matter if he's an adult, he was mentally challenged. They knew it, and there is legal processes where you can step in. I know this because I took care of an uncle who was elderly, but I took care of him from the time he was like, he wasn't elderly, he was just an older uncle to me. And you can step in, the police can step in very quickly on if there is mental health issues, and they should have stepped in. The officers had seen Kenneth at the Epping farmhouse 2 weeks prior and could see how much his condition had deteriorated when they saw him, ashen and injured, in the wheelchair in the aisles of the store. When a gas can is larger than a man, there's a problem. There's a problem. Right there. Has anyone ever seen a gas can larger than a full-grown man? And look at his face.
And look at his face. Yeah.
Officers had seen him, it said 2 weeks prior to this. 2 weeks prior, and he did not look like that. And then to see him 2 weeks later and he looks like this. Tell me those officers didn't fail this man. Why was this picture taken? Do you know?
No, I don't. And I don't know who actually took the picture. I'm assuming the police officers, I don't know. Unless it's captured from Walmart. You know what I mean?
He's looking at the camera.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder who took the picture.
Yeah, it's true, Becky. It's evidence that she was planning on burning them. He's holding his cans right there.
He's holding the can she probably filled. I mean, this whole
Yeah.
picture is saddening. Shannon Craft, I agree with you.
Yeah.
He looks like he's already on the verge. And it's quite possible that he was so sick he passed and she then didn't know what the heck to do. Oh, well, he's gone now. Now I'm going to burn him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But this picture right here breaks my heart.
The attorneys representing the defendant employed by the town through their insurance policy said the discretionary decision that officers made were immune from a personal liability lawsuit. Attorney was I want to say disgusting, but that's not right. Distinguishing between two categories of responsibility, discretionary, and ministerial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very good. Ministerial duties and actions the officer is required to perform in a particular way, set out by law, by policy, or by a superior. For example, it is an officer's duty to stop at a motor vehicle accident and render aid. The only exception would be if they did their discretionary duties in a wanton or reckless manner.
They said more specifically that their decision not to take either Sheila or Kenneth into custody during or after the incident at Walmart was discretionary. They pointed to a state domestic violence law and said officers can arrest a person for abuse without a warrant if they find probable cause. And it was up to the officers to make that discretionary judgment at Walmart.
And that's where they were wrong, because if they look at that man, they should have realized there was a problem.
Right.
That man didn't go from looking like that right there, healthy, a military man like that, to looking like the man in that cart. Like you don't go from that to that without something being severely wrong. And even if they didn't press charge, they needed to take him separate from her for several hours to a safe place where he knew he was safe and that he knew that they could get him to safety and give him time to calm down and get to where he could feel like he could speak. You know what I mean? And know that he was
Because they were
safe.
saying, right, maybe that she was talking over him. She wouldn't even allow him to talk to the police.
And right there, that tells you something's wrong if she's not allowing him to talk. So they didn't even have to arrest anybody. They could have said, you know what? I'm not quite sure what's going on right now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to separate you guys. Because I watched a show where a guy was being beaten by the woman, and they separated the guy for the night. They said, look, we don't know what's going on. He's saying you're not doing anything to him, and that's fine. But for the night, we're just going to make it, we're going to make you two separate. And they took the guy. The police officer turned off his camera and said, I'm not going to tell anybody what's going on. I'm just going to be your friend for the night. And he took the guy. And a couple hours later, the guy then confided in the officer and told him what had been going on. And the lady is now in jail for like 20 years for what she had been doing to the man. And when they got the guy to the hospital, they told him he had like 2 days left to live if he had not gotten to the hospital.
Wow.
They could have done that same thing for him
Yeah.
that night
Yeah.
at Walmart. And that's why I believe this mother was right. You know, they didn't even have to make an
Yeah.
arrest. They could have just separated him and given him a safe place to speak,
Right.
you know. And he was cute. He was very cute, Thrifty Angelo. Very, very cute.
As part of the normal course that a civil suit taken, the town's attorney filed a motion to dismiss it. Rockingham County Superior Court Judge Kenneth McHugh denied the motion, ruling that the suit had merit.
They dismissed it and then said the suit had merit.
Mm-hmm.
The judge said if Carolyn's facts were true, a reasonable juror could find that the town of Epping, by the inaction of the officers, enabled Sheila LaBarre to detain, abuse, and eventually murder Kenneth. Good, good.
Right. Yeah. The town had a statutory duty to protect county from further abuse once officers encountered him in Walmart. Here, the officers saw evidence of abuse right in front of them and failed to intervene.
Yep. 3 months after the suit was filed, the first blow to Carolyn's case came when the same judge dismissed the town of Epping from the suit, agreeing with their attorneys that because of their rather confusing state law, the municipality was immune to suits arising from an officer's potentially negligent actions that left the 4 individual officers as the remaining defendants. Wait a minute. So this is saying that you can't sue the department because because any of their officers are negligent?
Yeah.
So anything can happen and their officers are negligent and they can't get in trouble for their officers being negligent. That sounds insane.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like one hell of a loophole.
And they said it's a rather confusing state law.
Yeah.
Another blow to her case came when the 2 superior officers, neither of whom were present at Walmart, were also dismissed from the suit. The 2 remaining defendants were Richard Cote and Sean Gallagher.
Finally, in October of 2010, after a year and a half of legal arguments, Judge Kenneth McHugh dealt the lawsuit its final blow. In his decision, he wrote there was no evidence that the officers had acted in bad faith. Ugh. That's terrible. They did.
There was no evidence that Richard or Sean did anything dishonest or intentional that led to County's murder. For the lawsuit to go to trial, there must be an allegation of intentional conduct, dishonest proposal, further design, or ill will, which can be neatly summarized as bad faith actions.
Okay, well, I can see that they didn't purposely do that. I could understand they didn't purposely do it. What I do see is they made a mistake, and somebody should be held liable for that mistake.
Accountable for it, right?
Yeah, I don't think they purposely did it, but I think that they made a mistake by not having something having done something. They were negligent in the fact that they didn't step in and do something. They made a negligent in the fact they made a mistake, not negligent in the fact that they purposely did something. I don't.
And did
And
they?
where?
You remember on the first, I believe it was the first series, when they said that they encountered his condition at Walmart, that she had to help him into the vehicle.
Yeah.
So right there, he wasn't even able to walk. So they saw his condition, but yeah, like you're saying, they should have at least separated him for that night. And then he would have been able to tell his story, because he wouldn't have been scared because she wasn't there.
But I guess if the law is that it had to be intentional conduct, dishonest purpose, then I get that they didn't purposely do it, but there's got to be something for police making like mistakes that lead to death. There should be something for that. I don't know.
The lawsuit that Kenneth estate have filed against Sheila, however, has succeeded. A summary judgment of $1 million had been awarded, but there were a lot of people in line to get paid from Sheila's remaining assets.
I don't know. Thinking about that though, with the mistake thing, that's hard too, though.
Yeah.
Because mistakes happen, and you don't. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one though. My mind's kind of wrapping around that one. Carolyn explained that even if it was paid, she didn't stand to benefit because she wasn't a part of Kenneth's estate. She said, "I wasn't in it for the money. I was in it for my son because it cost him. It cost him his life."
Yeah.
Farmhouse auction.
On the early spring morning of April 28, 2009, a crowd of 75 waited to see who would bid on the once lavish farmhouse of Sheila LaBarre. The grass was in desperate need of mowing. The white paint on the house exterior was cracked and peeling. Most of the windows were boarded up with plywood, covering up damage done by vandalism.
The home, warped and bowed in neglect, it would need a lot of repair, and whoever bought it would have to face another grim reality. At least 2 men were murdered there and turned to ash in the front yard. Yeah, it's haunted.
Yeah. Look at that place.
Once such beautiful architecture, now in ruins.
Carolyn Lodge, who doubted anyone would bid on the property, waited along with the rest of the group. Her wish was to see the house demolished and the land left alone.
She hoped that the new owner would permit Kenneth's memorial shrine to remain at the edge of the property, honoring the past, but allowing the community to heal and move forward.
The people who were there to bid had their paddles ready. Auctioneer James St. Jean called out the numbers in a lightning cadence. Only a handful of people in the crowd were actually there to bid, one of whom was Brant Hartley, a local accountant, bidding on behalf of the Harvey family who once owned the home.
The family wanted to take back their farm and restore the land. He thought he would be unopposed, but he found himself in a bidding war with a small-framed woman in a red coat. Next to her was a man wearing a hat covering most of his salt and pepper hair. The couple looked put together. After the price rapidly rose to $400,000, it was down to just the 2 remaining bidders.
The price rose bit by bit. There was some headroom. The price of the property had come to $860,000. Things slowed down as the bidding rose to $550,000.
Bonnie Meroth, a neighbor who lived down the street from the farmhouse, said, "My wish for the property is simple. This land has seen so many hellacious things. I hope the new owner will let it have peace."
A few more bids were made when James St. Jean said, "Going once, going twice, sold for $600,000 to the lady in red."
Oh no. There was a collective sigh from the crowd when the gavel came down. The crack of the striking, the sounding block released tension from the crowd. Another chapter had ended.
If you have any information about others possible victims of Sheila LaBarre, please contact the Epping Police at 603-679-5122.
Wait a minute. Who purchased the property?
Don't know.
Okay, hold on. I am curious about something. Okay, so I'm very curious. The one that was going to get the horses. And
I know. I was thinking like
the lady that was going to get the horses, Sheila was leaving money with the lady that was going to get the horses, and they didn't say this lady's name that was purchasing the property. Do you think that it's possible? I know we're talking like way out there theory right now, but do you think it's possible that this lady that she barely knew that got the horses, is it possible that she also took money and came back and purchased this property?
it's always a possibility.
That'd be, how long ago did this happen?
The auction?
Mm-hmm.
Did they say 2006? I would have to go back. But that auction where I got the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
the auction is on YouTube. I got it from YouTube. So they show the auction. But again, they don't, that's all I could get of the owner because she's pretty covered with that umbrella, you know. And
that's what makes it weird, is that she's covered. She's got a red coat on. She's got, you know, a man with her. She's staying covered up. They never said her name. And the family was trying to buy the property back. She was outbidding them. It's just a little weird to me. It's got a little bit of.
I'll see if I can research it on my end and see if I can find out who the owner is now. You know,
I mean, it may just be some random person, but it seems a little odd that somebody random came in to outbid the family on this property with such a weird history of the property.
Right.
So, you know, it kind of makes me wonder if that person that she had take the horses didn't come back and also buy the property up.
Yeah. I want to see.
Yeah, Thrifty Angela said the person definitely didn't want to be known and wonder why. Yeah, that's something we need to probably try to look into. I wonder if there's been any drama with the property since, because all they wanted was peace out of it. I wonder if there's been any drama with the property since. And she's crazy enough that it seems like she might have. Court documents should show the sale.
April 28th, 2009, when it went to auction. So I'll see if I can find anything on the current owners.
That place should be torn down and rebuild project. I 100% agree with that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Because there's got to be more victims, you know.
I think she was a serial killer. I think she I don't think she got that good at killing people by just killing the few that she killed
Yeah.
that we know of. I think there was more.
Right.
For sure. So, well, thank you, Nettie, for putting this series together. I think it was very interesting.
It was a
It's not
pretty
very
long
often.
series, but yeah, I think it
It's not very
was.
often we hear about females, and especially females that are this. That's all I
And
got for.
how she controlled the men is unbelievable. You know, I think, a lot of them could have lived if they just would have reported it, but they were so scared. They,
Do you think they could have, or do you think she would have done something?
well, they
Because, like,
were homeless, so they really didn't have a place to go. She would have
mhm.
probably went back to the shelter where she
Yeah,
grabbed.
and they would have had to go back to her, you know what I mean? And if they reported her, like the one guy, he kept having to
Yeah.
go back to her, and then he, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Mm.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
there's
Becky. Sorry.
the one I sent Nettie by us way out there too. Yeah, we're gonna definitely look into that one. I'm excited
Yeah.
about that one. It's crazy how she had such a hold. Yeah, that's what I was
Right.
saying. Shannon, I don't know if you were in here, but I was like, can I just have a tiny little bit of whatever magic she had so that, like, when I go to the grocery store and there's men there, I can get in front of them at the grocery
Right.
store. Just a touch of whatever magic she had over men, because she
Oh,
had some power. But, well, thank you all for sticking with us, because this was a really
yeah.
long one. It was 2 hours to finish it up, but I think it was really worth it. This was a really cool series, Nettie, and I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
word.
Yeah.
And just a heads up about next Sunday, I am going to be traveling out to Metropolis. I'm going to be hanging out with Mansion Mom next weekend.
Yay.
I'm going to be trying to make it home in time. If not, I'll try to go live from there. If I can't do that, I will announce it early enough in the day on Sunday to let everybody know that I'm going to have to cancel the live. But I'm not sure how next Sunday is going to work out. So we might not have a live next Sunday just because I'm taking my dad. He wants to go out there and see the mansion again. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
busy Sunday. So we're not sure, but we'll see. And then Nettie's going to work on, I think, the story. We're going to take a peek at a couple of different stories and try to figure
Yeah.
out what.
Yeah.
So
We
but
don't know how long they're going to be until I get into it, so we'll see how that goes.
But as always, thank you guys so much for joining us this Sunday and hanging out with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate
Wishing
y'all
you
being
all,
here.
wishing you all much kindness, much love, and a wonderful week ahead.
Yes, and we're sending love your way. Good night, you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.